city of Chicago, as far as I'm concerned. We have a long history with the Burke goes back many years. Joe Burke, we all played with Joe. I know Eddie very well. We're all in Ireland together. Some stories we can tell, some we can't. I remember playing at 3 o'clock in the morning, marching down the streets of Dublin, going into a steak restaurant that we had, and the alderman had the place rented out for us. What was really funny is the greatest story. We're all ready to go march out in the Grove Park. And we're all standing, we're all ready to go, and there was a big competition between Chicago and New York because it was the first time the Special Olympics was outside the city of Chicago, out of the United States, and we were in Ireland. So the alderman comes walking up and goes, "Why aren't you guys marching out into Grove Park?" Because Chicago had to have their own pipe band. And it upset New York and the Kennedy, everybody was upset. And Joe looks at his brother and goes, New York said, "No, we can't do it." He goes, "Beat red." Turns around, "I will be right back." He turns around and leaves. I look at Joe, "Joe, what are we doing?" "I don't know, they won't let us go out there to do it, cause a problem." The alderman goes back and goes, "I don't give a shit what they, I don't care what they say. Chicago just overruled New York. Go." And then we turned around and marched right into Grove Park. It was absolutely priceless. It was one of the greatest events I've ever been at.
Thank you so much.
God bless.
God bless. Okay, gentlemen, John Wayne, Maureen O'Hara, the quiet man said, "Get ready." Up.
Glad to see you here, Ron.
Yeah, no, well, me too.
Thanks for glad me.
Are you kidding?
Still on the dim side of the grass. I'm walking out the
You look phenomenal.
I met you years ago at the Rose Bowl activity. You came around Christmas time. You and our couple were sitting in there. You came with a bunch of Christmas gifts. Wish us Merry Christmas. Nice to meet you. Always be over as far as I'm concerned.
Well, we got to How are we gonna do this? So I got a picture. I remember Chicago Bears at the function. Tucker, myself, we're all there. You took a picture with Terry. I didn't take a picture with him. So I'm gonna print those
Very
out.
nice.
Maybe we'll get a picture here too if you want to. Absolutely. All right? That would be absolutely outstanding. Thank you so much.
Thank
we're
you.
gonna play out the door.
Travis and there he is.
I remember Travis. I saw him. I had seen him at another event, and I walked up and I'm.
After that, I don't think that it's wise to say very much. I think you said it all, but more importantly, you've done it all. And but for you, I wouldn't be me. So I thank you my whole life. I have done everything possible, never dreamed of any of it, but for your dreams for me.
Well,
Thank you.
as I also said, but I may have not repeated it when I reprised my remarks. There was one role that I filled more than the 54 years I filled in city council, and that was 55 years to be married to this beautiful lady who was the love of my life. And when we married on May 25th, 1968, I was a Chicago cop, and she was working to create the most important organization for people with disabilities in modern American and world history, which now dominates the help for people with special needs across the world, Special Olympics, which is an accomplishment and an achievement far, far, far greater than anything that I would have ever hoped to achieve. And your children and your grandchildren should be very proud of their mother and their mother, who is such an accomplished and wonderful human being. Thank you all. A day that may be somewhat bittersweet, but what a nice conclusion to that day this is. Be surrounded with family and friends. I thought perhaps I might reprise what I said today at the city council meeting, which is perhaps the last time I would speak to that. I don't want to say august body, but the historic chamber. I began by saying, after some of the members of the council had paid tribute to my 54 years of service, that I had one other role that was longer. And that was a 55-year marriage to the love of my life, Anne. And I said that when we married on May 25th, 1968, I was a Chicago cop, and she was working for the Chicago Park District, creating the most important organization in the history of modern times for people with disabilities, Special Olympics. It was May 25th, 1968. And then, of course, I was elected March 11th, 1969. I said, and what I scratched out, and I didn't intend to say anything today, but after some of the folks were speaking, I started writing out these few observations. I said, in all likelihood, this will be the last speech in this historic chamber. Not this historic chamber where we've had so many family celebrations, but the city council chamber. Over the past 54 years, I've delivered thousands of remarks on a variety of subjects, including death resolutions, retirements, and other subjects. But last week, as I attended the funerals of two brave Chicago firefighters, I was reminded that since 1969, when I was elected, I've attended the funerals of 147 police officers and 96 firefighters who died in the line of duty. 243 families have endured the grief and the devastation caused by those untimely tragedies. I recall that at one of those sad events years ago, a gospel hymn entitled "It Is Well With My Soul" was included in the service. Just like the library, that hymn celebrates its 150th anniversary this year and was written by a Chicago lawyer, Horatio Spafford. The story of Spafford and the hymn is indeed tragic. Spafford was a successful Chicago lawyer and investor in 1871, but was virtually wiped out by the Great Fire. 2 years later, in 1873, he decided to take his wife and 4 daughters on a trip to Europe. His wife was from Norway. At the last minute, urgent business, namely a zoning matter, prevented Spafford from joining his family aboard the ship. But he promised to join them on the next available vessel. On November 22nd, 1873, the ship on which Mrs. Stafford and her daughters were traveling collided with another ship and in a matter of moments sank. The 4 Spafford daughters drowned. Only their mother was rescued. As Horatio was sailing to join his grieving wife, the captain of that vessel summoned Horatio to the bridge. As the vessel reached the place in the ocean where his 4 daughters had perished. And it was there in mid-ocean that Horatio Spafford penned the lyrics of this hymn. When peace like a river attendeth my way, when sorrows like sea billows roll, whatever my lot, thou hast taught me to know. It is well. It is well with my soul. It is my hope that it will be well with the 243 families of these brave first responders, and that they and all the families of Chicago first responders experience comfort and healing. And further, that God will watch over and protect all the brave police officers and firefighters who each day put their lives on the line for their fellow citizens. Lastly, many of you have heard my quote of the great Anglo-Irish statesman Alderman Burke, who wrote, "In politics, there are no permanent enemies, no permanent friends, only permanent interests." Those words are wise and should be a goal for all in government. If at times I have failed in that goal, permit me to apologize. Finally, I would like to extend my best wishes for good health and success to my successor, Alderman-elect Gutierrez, and to all those who will govern this great metropolis beginning next month. Indeed, Chicago is and will always be the most American of American cities. God bless America and God bless Chicago. Thank you.
To the chairman.